Little black girl helps a millionaire fix his Mustang. When he sees the ring on her finger, his life unravels. The relentless sun beat down on the asphalt of a rural Georgia road as Kayla Thompson, 11, trudged home from school. She slowed, spotting a sleek red Ford Mustang Shelby GT500 parked on the shoulder, its hood raised like an open jaw. A white man in a suit, worth more than all the furniture in her home, paced nearby, yelling into his phone, "I don't care how much it costs. I've been stuck on this godforsaken road for 2 hours. I have a meeting with the mayor in Atlanta." He checked his gold watch. 3 hours, tops. Kayla hesitated, wondering if she should keep walking. Her Aunt Clara always warned her against talking to strangers, especially those who looked out of place in their quiet, mostly black community, an hour's drive from Atlanta. But the man's desperation tugged at her. Adjusting her worn backpack, filled with books and a small toolkit from her Uncle Marcus, a mechanic who insisted everyone should know engine basics, she stepped forward. "Excuse me, sir," she called, approaching cautiously. "Need help with your car?" James Whitaker, CEO of Whitaker Industries and owner of half of Atlanta's commercial real estate, turned, startled. His irritation softened to condescension at the sight of the small girl with colorful braids, in faded jeans, and an oversized Georgia Tech t-shirt. "That's kind of you, sweetheart, but this is a high-performance vehicle. I need a real mechanic." Kayla shrugged, stepping closer to peer under the hood. "My uncle runs a garage and has taught me about cars since I could walk. I can take a look." Before James could protest, she dropped her backpack and leaned over the engine with surprising confidence. "When did the problem start?" she asked. "All business." James sighed, figuring he had nothing to lose. "It started overheating about 40 minutes ago, then just died. Did you smell anything sweet, like syrup?" James blinked, surprised. "Yeah, now that you mention it. How'd you know?" "Cooling system." Kayla pointed to a small puddle under the car James hadn't noticed. "Coolant leak. That's why it overheated." As she spoke, James watched with growing curiosity. Something about her felt familiar, the way she furrowed her brow in focus, the sharp intelligence in her eyes scanning the engine. "What's your name?" he asked suddenly. "Kayla. Kayla Thompson." She offered an oil-smudged hand. He shook it hesitantly. "James Whitaker." "Nice to meet you, Mr. Whitaker. I think I can patch this temporarily." Kayla opened her backpack, pulling out a small metal case. "Uncle Marcus makes me carry an emergency kit. You never know when someone needs roadside help." James watched, mesmerized, as she worked with impressive efficiency, locating a leak in the radiator hose and sealing it with specialty tape. "This should hold until you get to town," she explained. "But you'll need to add water to replace the lost coolant." James caught it as Kayla brushed hair from her face, a ring with a sapphire stone in an antique gold setting, held on her pinky by thread wrapped around its base to keep it from slipping. His world seemed to stop. The sun glinted off the stone, revealing a tiny crescent-shaped flaw he'd recognize anywhere. It was the ring he'd given a little girl named Kayla 12 years ago at the Bright Futures Orphanage, days before its mysterious closure. "That ring," he began, voice trembling. "It's very unusual." Kayla glanced at her hand. "It was my mom's, my adoptive mom, Sarah. She passed last year." A shadow of grief crossed her face. "She said it was a symbol of a big promise." "Can I ask where Sarah got it?" Kayla shrugged. "She never told me exactly. Just said it belonged to someone special, and one day I'd understand what it meant. James steadied himself and offered to drive Kayla home as thanks. She hesitated before agreeing. During the 15-minute ride, he asked casual questions about her life, her school, how long she'd lived there, who she stayed with after Sarah's death. "I live with my Aunt Clara and Uncle Marcus," Kayla explained. "They took me in after Mom died." "Always lived here?" James asked, keeping his tone light while gripping the steering wheel tightly. "Since I was 3. Before that," Kayla paused. "Mom didn't talk much about it. I know I was adopted from an orphanage called Bright Futures. It closed soon after." James nearly swerved. "Bright Futures? You're sure?" "Yeah." "Why? Do you know it?" James took a deep breath. "I did, a long time ago." They pulled up to a modest but well-kept house. Kayla thanked him and said goodbye. Before she stepped out, he handed her a card. "Kayla, if you ever need anything, call me." She took it curiously and left. James watched her run to the house, the ring glinting in the sun. His hand shook as he called his private investigator. What Kayla didn't know, waving one last time to the stranger in his fancy car, was that this chance encounter had sparked events that would unravel secrets kept for over a decade. Secrets tying a billion-dollar empire, a mysteriously shuttered orphanage, and a black girl with an extraordinary knack for fixing broken things. If this story of unlikely coincidences and hidden connections piqued your curiosity, stick around to see how a simple ring unlocks a web of power, prejudice, and truth that changes lives forever. James spent 3 sleepless nights staring at enlarged photos of the sapphire ring captured by his investigator, the jewel he'd given little Kayla at Bright Futures as a promise to return for her, a promise he never kept. In his office at Whitaker Industries, he sifted through documents strewn across his desk. 12 years ago, his father, Charles Whitaker, bought the orphanage's property for a fraction of its value, citing financial irregularities. Coincidentally, James was named CEO soon after. "Mr. Whitaker, Mr. Evans from Legal is here with the Horizon Project documents," his assistant announced. The Horizon Project, a luxury complex being built where Bright Futures once stood. James quickly hid the reports as Evans entered. "The Bright Futures acquisition papers are here," Evans said. "Though I don't know why we're digging up old business. Your father was adamant about keeping these archived." "My father's retired in Miami," James replied dryly. "I run the company now." Reviewing the documents, James found suspicious bank transfers and, more disturbingly, a list of children relocated after the orphanage closed. Kayla Thompson's name was circled in red, marked "Special Case." "Connect me to H.W.," his investigator Ramirez called with news. I tracked down Sarah Thompson. Car accident last year, brake failure, suspicious circumstances, and the adoption records officially missing. Kayla Thompson never existed at Bright Futures. James ordered a deep dive into her current family. Meanwhile, Kayla worked in a small workshop behind her aunt and uncle's house, her sanctuary, with tools neatly hung and the comforting smell of oil and grease. "Fixed that old radio yet?" Marcus asked, stepping in. Kayla grinned, holding up a 1950s radio. "Got it. Just had to rewire a few things." Marcus ruffled her braids affectionately. "You've got a gift, kid. Never seen anyone understand machines like you. Uncle, Do you think my mom would be proud? Sarah was so proud of you, she could have burst. Kayla twirled the ring on her finger. The other day I met a rich guy. His car broke down and I fixed it. He recognized my ring. Marcus froze. What guy? James Whitaker. He gave me his card. Kayla showed it. He acted weird when he saw my ring. Marcus's face darkened. He exchanged a look with Clara, who appeared at the door. Kayla, honey, Clara said tensely, we promised to tell you the truth about Sarah when you were older. I think that time's now. That night, Kayla learned the hidden story, how Sarah, a nurse at the orphanage, fled with her when Bright Futures abruptly closed, how they changed their names and lived on the run, always looking over their shoulders. Your mom left this for you, Clara said, handing her a yellowed envelope. She made us promise to give it to you only if someone from the Whitaker family showed up. With trembling hands, Kayla began reading. My dear Kayla, if you're reading this, someone's found you. There are things you need to know. James's phone rang again. Ramirez. Sir, someone else is digging into Bright Futures. A reporter, Marcus Hayes, from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. What does he know? Plenty. And he's got a theory about why your father was interested in certain kids at the orphanage, especially ones with unusual talents. The next day, a black SUV pulled up outside Kayla's school. Two men in suits watched her leave with friends. That's her? The girl with the sapphire ring? Yeah. Mr. Whitaker Sr. wants to see her immediately. What they didn't know was that Marcus was parked across the street. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number Sarah had left for emergencies. Marcus Hayes, Marcus said. It's about Bright Futures and the girl with the sapphire ring. I've got the evidence you're looking for. At Whitaker Industries, James stared down his father, Charles, who'd flown in from Miami unannounced. What's this about digging into Bright Futures? Charles demanded. I thought that was closed. I found Kayla Thompson, Dad, the girl with the sapphire ring. Charles paled. And just another orphan. The Horizon Project matters. Billions are at stake. What's so special about this girl? Charles laughed dryly. You don't get what's at stake. She fixes things, James said slowly. She can look at broken machines and just understand them. Charles' smile was icy. Think of the military applications, patents, power. Why do you think we bought that orphanage? What neither Whitaker realized was that Kayla had read Sarah's letter, learning the truth about her past, her unique talents, and why the sapphire ring was so valuable. Not just a jewel, but a key to documents that could topple an empire. The puzzle pieces were falling into place. On one side, a powerful corporation ready to protect its secrets at any cost. On the other, an 11-year-old girl with an extraordinary gift and a ring worth far more than its sapphire. Between them, a man deciding which side of history he wanted to stand on. The boardroom on Whitaker Industries' 50th floor buzzed with nervous executives. Charles Whitaker had called an emergency meeting, his usually composed face now a mask of fury. "Where's my son?" he demanded, slamming a fist on the glass table. James was due an hour ago. As if on cue, the double doors swung open. James entered calmly, accompanied by a woman no one recognized. "Sorry I'm late, Dad," he said, with a calm that made Charles scowl. "This is Federal Prosecutor Laura Bennett. She has questions about Project Prometheus." Charles's face paled. Project Prometheus, the code name for a clandestine program to identify and exploit children with special talents, a name never to be mentioned publicly, let alone to federal authorities. "What the hell are you doing?" Charles hissed. James walked to the wall's large screen and plugged in his laptop. "What I should have done long ago. The truth about Bright Futures and the 5 other facilities you shut down over the last 15 years. The lights dimmed, and the screen lit up with documents, photos, and reports. Detailed records of 48 exceptional children identified, tested, and exploited by Whitaker Industries. You stole confidential documents. Charles tried to regain control. That's corporate crime, industrial espionage. Documents proving far worse crimes, James countered. Unauthorized experiments on minors, falsified adoption records, bribery of public officials, witness intimidation. The screen played a video, 12-year-old security footage of a young nurse, now known to James as Sarah Thompson, fleeing at night with a child in her arms. Then, a clip of Charles instructing security. "Find her. The girl has significant military potential. We can't lose her." 3 Bright Futures staff died in accidents in the weeks that followed, James continued relentlessly, including Sarah's brother, who started asking questions. "You have no idea of the consequences," Charles began, but was cut off as the doors opened again. Kayla Thompson entered, flanked by her Uncle Marcus and a man with a professional camera, Marcus Hayes from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. "Kayla," James said softly, "you didn't have to come." "I did," she replied with remarkable poise for her age. "Sarah always said I'd have to face the people who made us run one day." Charles stared at the girl, his expression shifting from shock to cold calculation. "So, you're the prodigy, Project 17. Didn't think you'd be so small." "And you're the man who killed my mother," Kayla shot back, unflinching. "Her brakes didn't fail by accident, did they?" Charles smirked, regaining confidence. Proving anything would be impossible. "And you forget who I am. One call, and this all vanishes." That's when Kayla opened her backpack and pulled out the sapphire ring. With steady fingers, she twisted the stone, revealing a hidden compartment. From it, she extracted a tiny device. "Sarah was smarter than you thought," she said. "This is a storage drive she hid in the ring. It holds backups of all Bright Futures records, including your meetings with military contractors about using kids with enhanced cognitive abilities for strategic purposes." Charles Whitaker, for the first time, was speechless. "This is streaming live right now," Marcus Hayes clarified, pointing to his camera. "To our studio and directly to social media. Over 10,000 people are watching." James stepped toward his father, lowering his voice. "It's over. The prosecutor has a deal for me, full cooperation for immunity. As for you, we'll let the jury decide." As federal agents entered to arrest Charles Whitaker, Kayla approached the man who'd ruined so many lives. "My mom taught me broken machines can be fixed," she said calmly, "but broken people need to heal. I hope prison gives you that chance." Charles was led away, his empire crumbling before the world. In the days that followed, Whitaker Industries' stock plummeted. Investigations uncovered decades of unethical practices, illegal experiments, and systemic corruption. James watched it all with a complex mix of relief and regret. He'd lost his family and inheritance, but gained something more valuable: his integrity. Outside the courthouse, as Charles awaited his pretrial hearing, Kayla approached James on the steps. "What happens now?" she asked, the sapphire ring glinting on her finger, no longer a symbol of secrets, but of truth unveiled. James looked at Atlanta's skyline, at skyscrapers built on money stained by exploitation and suffering, including the gleaming Whitaker Building, soon to lose its name. "Now," he said, "we rebuild, not just buildings, but lives." What neither could predict was how this rebuilding would transform not just their lives, but an entire community. An empire built on exploitation was collapsing, but from its ashes, something new and unexpected would rise, something that would forever change how the world sees exceptional talent in unlikely places. 5 years later, Kayla Thompson, now 16, walked the halls of the newly opened Thompson Center for Young Innovators. The sprawling complex of labs, workshops, and classrooms stood where bright futures once did. "The sensors in the East Wing are still glitchy," she told a group of engineers trailing her, her practiced eyes spotting issues in complex systems with the same ease she'd diagnosed the Mustang's radiator leak years ago. In the center's heart, James Whitaker, now in jeans and a button-down, pitched to investors. The former billionaire heir had poured his personal fortune into the Prometheus Initiative, no longer a research scheme, but a program to identify talented youth from marginalized communities and provide opportunities. "This quarter alone, we've identified 23 kids with exceptional abilities," he explained. "Each gets a full scholarship and tailored mentorship. No contracts, no exploitation, no secrets." James's transformation stunned many, especially former Whitaker Industries executives. The man, once heir to an empire built on exploitation, now devoted his life to undoing its damage and creating real opportunities. Marcus' angry black woman, Marcus, now the center's engineering program director, said Kayla's on her third patent. MIT, Georgia Tech, and Stanford are already fighting over her. The center's main wall displayed the full story. Photos of the orphanage, clippings about Whitaker Industries' collapse, and the headline that changed everything. "Whitaker Empire Crumbles After Teen's Revelations." Meanwhile, in a federal maximum security prison, Charles Whitaker stared at his cell's walls. The magnate who once controlled billions and manipulated lives now spent his days in confinement, abandoned by former allies. His wealth was seized, his name forever tarnished. A guard noted he refused rehabilitation programs, still believing he'd get out and rebuild. The arrogance that defined him had become a sad caricature, an old man clinging to dreams of power that would never return. That evening, the Thompson Center held its first major graduation ceremony. 12 youths from underserved communities completed a rigorous 2-year program, each securing job offers or college scholarships. Kayla, still too young to graduate but already a mentor to older peers, took the stage to speak. "When I was 11, I fixed a stranger's car on the roadside," she began, twirling the sapphire ring. "It's no longer a symbol of secrets, but of transformation. That small act of kindness exposed a web of exploitation and paved the way for something new and better." James watched from the back, eyes welling. The girl who dismantled his old world had given him a purpose money couldn't buy. "My adoptive mom, Sarah, always said broken machines can be fixed, but broken systems need redesigning from scratch," Kayla continued. "That's what we're doing here, not just fixing what was wrong, but building something entirely new." The next day, Kayla received an unexpected letter from Victoria Whitaker, Charles's daughter, who'd renounced her surname post-scandal and now worked as a federal prosecutor. "We've found 5 more orphanages with programs like Bright Futures," it read. "Thanks to your testimony and evidence, we've identified and protected 37 more kids. Some have talents like yours. When you're ready, they'd love to meet you." As Kayla read the letter to James, Marcus, and Clara, a sense of closure hung in the air. What began as a roadside encounter had become a quiet revolution, transforming not just their lives, but a system that thrived on exploiting the vulnerable. "Know what's ironic?" James said. "Charles always talked about building a legacy, and he did, just not the way he imagined." Kayla gazed out the window at kids playing in the center's garden, free from the manipulation that nearly defined her fate. "Real power was never about buildings or bank accounts," she replied. "It's about changing lives." That evening, as the sun set over the Thompson Center, a new sign was unveiled at the entrance. "Every talent deserves to bloom. Every child deserves freedom." It was a promise of a future built on the ashes of a past they refused to repeat. If this story of justice, resilience, and transformation touched your heart, subscribe for more tales of how small acts of courage can reshape entire systems, showing that true retribution isn't just punishing evil, it's building something better in its place.